guys. Well, we'll be few and mighty, but numbers don't ever affect what I do. So we've had panels where there's like 2 or 3 people. We've had panels where there's like 200. And no matter how many people are here, we still do exactly what we came to do. So thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us. And we will hopefully have some good conversations. We encourage audience participation. So when you have an opinion on something, or if we kind of throw a question out to you guys, feel free to speak up. You don't have to, it's not like school where I'm going to call on you. But definitely we'd love to have, your guys' feedback on stuff, because it helps us as well. We take a lot of what we hear at these panels and incorporate it into other panels and all that kind of stuff. So with that being said, my name is Marisa Garcia. I am the creator of Chunky Girl Comics, which has blossomed into the Chunky Girl universe. And how it started, I'll give a little background on Chunky Girl Comics. As a kid, I always wanted to be a superhero, but no one looked like I did, so I made myself into a superhero. Would write these stories. Writing was always kind of my outlet, right? It's where you can kind of get lost and get away from reality a little bit. And so I would write these stories about myself as a superhero. And in my head, she looked like me, she talked like me, she was me. I can't draw, but in my head, I knew what she looked like. So as an adult, when my daughter was 6, she'll be 12 now, 12 this year, next month. When she was 6, she came home and said she was called fat at 6 years old. And I went into kind of panic mode and freaked out a little bit that at 6, that kids are already dealing with this kind of stuff. At 6 years old, that was the least of my worries at 6. So that year was what really got me into, kind of lit a fire under my butt to say, I feel like we need some new superheroes, some new characters out there where everyone can identify with. Whether you're tall, short, fat, skinny, round, whatever skin color you were, you could look at our characters and find something somewhere that applies to you in your daily life. So that's how Chunky Girl Comics was born. That turned into us doing, panels and, conventions for selling products and selling our pictures and character prints, and then it turned into me finding the real life version of these characters, because people were like, why don't you cosplay as your own character? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess so. And then that turned into me finding 3 other women to fill in the rest, and we started doing all these other things. Turned into, do you guys do school workshops? At the time I was like, no, but went home that night and wrote a workshop. And so started doing things like that, which was really cool, and it's been a great experience. It's turned into modeling, plus size modeling for us. It's really taken us on a great journey to sharing how we came to love ourselves, and sharing that with other people, from kids to adults. It doesn't matter. We will talk to anybody. I talk to everyone. I am releasing my first children's book this year that's being illustrated by one of a fan of ours, his 15-year-old daughter. She's in the illustrations, and it's an anti-bullying story, which is kind of cool. So we've got a lot of stuff coming up. So we love coming out and doing these panels because we get to chit-chat, and it really helps us to get to know kind of what you guys think and everything, which is kind of cool. So thanks for coming. I will introduce you. I've got with me, first, this is Tina. Tina is one of the newest members of the Chunky Girl universe. She's been a supporter of Chunky Girl Comics since the beginning, and we kept seeing Tina at all these shows, and she comes out with her family, and there's Ben, hi Ben, with her husband and her kids, and they come out. They are in cosplay. She's in her Hellboy cosplay. She's just not painted red today. Normally she's red everywhere.
You can hear her coming. This is just part of it. You can hear me coming from a mile away. It's summer. I wasn't going to do the full midnight red from chest to head
and the colors and all that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, she's usually just red.
It's a mess.
Red gets everywhere, no matter red makeup, red hair dye, red. It's like a murder scene every time.
The inside of my minivan has red marks all over the
I
upholstery. It's everywhere.
I believe that. So she started off as a fan, and then we became friends. And then when I decided to start expanding the universe and bringing in some different people, Tina was one of the first on the list to say, hey, you know. And we happen to live by each other, which makes things very convenient.
We live in the same city.
Lives all over the place, so it's kind of cool. So Tina, thank you for coming and hanging out. And Ben's recording. Hi, Ben. Is this live on Facebook?
It's live.
Oh, hi. And then, so before I introduce our next panelist, so we just got asked to this panel like 3 or 4 days ago. I was going to come out here anyway, kind of as a fan, just to come out. One of my favorite writers is here, and I kind of freaked out a little bit because I really enjoyed Serena Valentino, and she's over there signing. This is actually inspired by one of her characters, which I don't normally look like this. I love to look like this every day, but yeah, the kids at school, I mean, you know, my kids, they're like, Mom, don't wear black lipstick, Mom. But anyway. I was going to be here anyway, and was asking her who would be interested in being on our panel, you know, to kind of give some more insight and perspective. Not that Tina and I couldn't have been up here and just done it by ourselves.
You talked your ear off.
But Serena actually recommended somebody for me, and it's Jennifer, and which actually will be a really cool fit. Jennifer's a writer, and you were an editor for SLG?
Yeah, I was editor at Slave Labor Graphics. I was Serena's editor for 10 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, so, and then you worked for Image for a while?
Yeah, I was at Image, and I've written comics for Image, and I was in the IDW Womancology.
So it's really cool, like it kind of fit, and I'm like, oh, you know, we have we're very girl power friendly, and the comic industry in general is very male driven, at least on the forefront. Like the public face of comics is mostly men, so it's kind of awesome to be able to spotlight some of the women that do a lot of the work in this industry. So Jennifer, thank you for coming and hanging out with us and all that stuff. So here's how this works. I kind of have a question. The panelists we get kind of first dibs at kind of our opinions on it, and then we open it up to you guys. You know, kind of raise your hand or do a dance, whatever you want to do, and we'll get to you. Like I said, we'd love to hear what you guys have to think, or have to say. So, all right, let's get going. So, and like I said, we do talk a lot about body image and everything, but also it's diversity too. It's not just body image; it's gender, it's ethnicity, it's age, it's sexual orientation, whatever it is. We cover a lot of stuff. So. It's not just body image, it's image in general. Okay. So, with social media being the kind of the ruler of everyone's life these days, I'm guilty. I can't take my phone away from me. We've been able to have access to everything at magazines, movies, pictures. We don't have to go buy a magazine anymore. We can see it face value right there. What do you think has changed? Is it social media that's changed, that's kind of has this whole body positive movement? Is it because we think it's because we have access to people that look like us now? You know, what's changed that now there's this body positive movement where you're seeing more plus size models on magazines, you're seeing it more in music videos, and you're seeing it, I don't want to say thrown in your face.
It is definitely more in your face. It's more in your face. I feel that it's because people are sick of not seeing anybody who looks like them, much like you. Sure, you can walk into Barnes & Noble and you can see men's fitness. You can see women's fitness monthly. You can see Cosmopolitan. You can open up any magazine and see the Photoshop scaled down image of what perfect looks like. But when was the last time you opened up a magazine and saw somebody struggling to put on their pants? or had an issue trying to find the right size shoes or bra or whatever the case was. You don't see that in average, normal, and I use normal as we all would think about the normalcy of magazines, catalogs, books, that type of thing. But it's nice to walk in now and see Curve magazine right there next to Fitness Monthly, or whatever the case is, whatever magazine is there. To see fashion magazines that feature plus size models, that feature Torrid or Winnie B models in there as well. They might not feature the larger spectrum, but they do feature something that is not average, that is not of the norm. You also see a lot more people of color. You also see a lot more differently abled folks now too. So that's something that's huge for me, is to see the diversity that we see out there is actually being represented. But it is more in your face because people got tired of not seeing it. And when people get tired of not seeing something, they have the option to act on that, which is not buy the magazine or request that they see people of themselves in that magazine as well.
Right, and with social media, I mean, it's so voice driven, and it gives people the opportunity to, you know, your Twitter is there, and everybody has the ability to go and say whatever, you know, they want, sometimes for good and sometimes for bad. But in that way, a conversation that, you know, may have been happening here and here and here in the country suddenly is happening in one place. So you have, you know, you see that this is something that is an issue for many people, and that there are many people who support it, whether or not it's an issue for them, or, you know, people support diversity, seeing people who are like themselves and who are unlike themselves. I mean, it's important too for white people to see people of color presented in their media, and it's important for thin people to see people who are not thin presented in their media, because it, you know, the media shouldn't be a reflection of just any one person, or an idealized person. It should be reflective of the world. And, you know, I always say, you know, if I'm watching something that's set in the Bay Area and everybody is white, that's not my Bay Area. That's some fantasy land where, you know, like, there was that show Parenthood where, like, there was one black person, and I was like, what Berkeley is this? Yeah.
Not Berkeley here. Right.
Right. So
Sons of Anarchy is the same way.
Yeah.
It's set in Stockton. That's not my Stockton.
yeah. There's a Mexicans.
Yeah, where are all the Mexican people? Like,
Well, we're all people in Stockton, you know, like but it's true. Like, you kind of want to see someone. I mean, for me, especially as a kid, you want to see someone who looks like you. Start off with like Barbie dolls when I was a kid. It was like me being 3 different ethnicities. I'm black, white, and Asian. No one was ever gonna look just like me, you know. It just, I knew that. My sister does, but that's it, right? But so it's hard to find a doll that looked like me. Like, I would get, someone would purchase like a black doll for me, and I'm like, I don't look like that. But then I'd get the blonde-haired, blue-eyed doll. Well, my grandmother's got blonde hair and blue eyes, but that's not me. And then I ended up really liking, like, she's like the Hispanic doll, because at least I'm like, oh, she's a little bit more my tone. And it was hard as a kid to find something that looks like you.
Yeah, I had Island from Nico. She had brown, she was Asianish, and yeah, I didn't want any other Barbie dolls, but she was the only one who looked like me.
Right.
And so I was fine, I'll have Asian and Nico, and I don't want the blonde Barbie. But, you know, my daughter, my husband is white, and this is something I'm struggling with. Like, she looks white, and so, you know, people don't realize she's my daughter. And so I'm like, well, you know what, I'm not going to get her dolls that just look like her. So she has, you know, the superhero dolls, the DC ones come out. So she has Supergirl, and she has Bumblebee, who is black. And I wanted to get her Wonder Woman. They gave her kind of darker skin, but she's impossible to find. Yeah. And so, you know, I just kind of want to, since she is this, you know, white ideal, she has very pale skin, and she has light eyes and, you know, curly hair. I'm like, you know, I don't want her to think that Well, because she sees me, I'm her mom. I have brown hair, brown skin and black hair. It's like I want her to know that, you can relate to everybody no matter what they look like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it's hard for my kids too, like I said, I'm black, white, and Asian, so not being able to fit in, find where you fit in, and my kid's dad is Mexican, so my kids are just this completely crazy mix of these different things. But, I've always made sure that they know the history of all of what makes up them. And, it's a really important thing that they can kind of assimilate into any situation, So, I wanted to ask you guys, as well as you guys, we all have this idea of we all have things that make us, what we say, weird, right? And I say I'm weird, and I'm okay with being weird, and if you don't like me being weird, then that's usually around me, you don't like my kind of weird, right? But that's one of the great things about conventions, is you can come to a convention and find people that are your kind of weird. You may think you're the only one that likes a certain comic book or character or TV show or some weird off-color, anime that you think you're the only one that's ever seen it, but you love it. You can come to a convention and kind of find your tribe of people who like the same things. I want to know kind of how you guys have, you guys as well, what helped you kind of embrace your weird? What made you comfortable with being, hey, this is either how I dress, this is what I like, this is what I'm into. Like me, I was very introverted as a kid. That's why writing was kind of my outlet to that. But as I got older, I became very extroverted. Yeah, look at me. But it was a journey to get to that point, to being able to embrace my weird. What helped you guys embrace your weird? And then we'll throw it out to you guys.
I've been with my husband since I was 16, and we have been in the punk scene for that long, probably a little bit longer. So in that scene and in that world and in that lifestyle, not many people give one flying F about what you do or how you look or how you dress. Sure, there are some people that are going to go, oh, well, they're not X, Y, and Z enough. Well, okay, I really honestly don't really care too much about what they think. But I think as I got older, not caring at all what other people think about me has helped, because I realized that how I view myself and how I think about myself, I can control that. What anybody else in this room thinks about me, I cannot control how you feel or think or whatever about me. That's your expression of however you feel about me and the way I dress and the way I look. So my own weird, that's me. That's my weird. And I'm not going to turn my judgmental self on you and go, that's too weird. Like I can't hang with that. Okay, so I can't. Big deal. I move on. I go find somebody else who I like their weird, and I go hang out with them. But I think part of that was just going, yeah, I really just don't care. I really don't care. Cosplaying, getting into the cosplay community, that was a huge step for me, because I saw so many people online really digging at people, making fun of them for their cosplay, or how they interpreted their cosplay, or how just their body size and how they looked or whatever. Oh my God, look at that He-Man, he needs to hit the gym, he's one big fat ass, or whatever. It's like, whoa, that's not cool. So when I had to put that aside and go, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I just did it. I got so many positive responses from that has continued to keep me going. Those positive responses. I have had a few negative things thrown my way. Why don't you slut it up, fatty? Stuff like that. I get that often. But I'm not going to, and I really don't care, because if you turn around and you look at the source, I don't need to. I do not need to engage. So. And a lot of times, if you look at the source of who is throwing those comments at you. So I embraced my weird from a very early age and let my freak flag fly.
Yeah, for me, comics were really where I found my people, I think. I've also been with my husband since he was 16, so, you know, he kind of, I liked comics before I met him, and he was more into them, so kind of got more into them together, but, you know, at 16, there was this guy in a leather jacket with Cure lyrics on it, so I was like, oh. He's, you know, people, and it's kind of still like that when you go to conventions. You'll see people over and over. Like I have a friend, I see her at conventions all the time, and I finally said, you know what? We should know each other. We see each other all the time.
And it kind of
We kind of
It's
waste
kind of how we
time.
met, yeah.
And we should be friends. So yeah, that's you find the people you're comfortable with and who share interests and you know, name their cats after members of Depeche Mode. So they just there's just surprisingly a lot more people who are like you than not. When you're young and you feel very isolated. I grew up in the suburbs and you know it's kind of weird, but then you know you get out there and you realize there are other people who share your interests, who share your view on life, and they look all kinds of ways, they come from all kinds of different backgrounds, and you know, it's wonderful.
Absolutely. So, out there, just shout out some things. What do you guys nerd out over? What are your weird things that you're into? Like your fandom. What's your fandom? Anyone? Like I'm all about Harry Potter everything. Harry Potter everything. Like everything. You've been to my house. My downstairs bathroom.
I bought you that banner for
And
your
it
house.
works out. Like my downstairs bathroom looks like Hogwarts. I mean, it's
Music, steampunk, cyber, punk.
There you go. And I bet here, you come to a place like this, you can find someone who's into the same thing as you are.
They
Anyone
have
else?
goggles on their hat, usually steampunk.
Yeah. Anyone else want to shout anything out? What do you guys nerd out
Pro
over?
wrestling.
All right.
My man.
Pro wrestling. Professional wrestling, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
There's a lot of crossover between superhero fans and pro wrestling fans.
Yeah.
I didn't know that before Twitter. I'm like, what are you
Also
talking about?
cosplay.
I'm like, oh.
right, yeah.
One of the biggest events at Fanime was Cosplay
Wrestling Federation, true. I
See, that
think
guy's awesome.
I was wrestling to bring it up because pro wrestling actually had big, huge heydays in the 80s and 90s, and it's also very well-driven, still is to this day. But
Right.
the last 4 or 5 years, it's actually been a big resurgence in, like, say, nerd culture, getting into professional wrestling and seeing that it's a very valid form of, like, entertainment.
Absolutely.
And there's also been a bigger more acceptance, like, international pro wrestling, like, in Japan and Mexico as well. And also, women's wrestling has become, like, independent is becoming bigger, and led to a reception in, say, WWE. It used to be known as the Divas title, which has had a very negative connotation. This past WrestleMania, they rebranded it as the women's title, and instead they now brand all either male or female wrestlers as superstars, gender neutral. So I think that's something that's become like more, more in a way reflective like their culture to become like more inclusive and opening with the line presence as well. So while you may have this stigma before of like being more like, you know, much more rowdy, much more like, you know, leave people apart, it's actually a lot of welcoming because everybody kind of understands that it is kind of, the professional wrestling audience becomes looked down upon, like, you know, seeing us like very lowbrow, being low, very crass. It's like actually be just as valid for maintaining as like your favorite movie, television show, literature, or in actually some ways it's very similar to another form of entertainment, which is burlesque. In some ways, in independence, it's very reflective, like where burlesque is more like women-driven. Professional wrestling could be actually male and women-driven as well. And say when you go on stage, they perform like on a local circuit, becoming big stars from there, wrestling on like a dance or so. So I guess that's my own kind of weird.
But it is a good kind of weird.
Yeah.
Last year, I had the opportunity to. So I grew up as a big wrestling fan. 80s and 90s and late 90s were my heyday, man. That was.
Attitude era.
Oh my God, the late 90s were my heyday. But And then got out of it for a while, and have slowly in the last maybe year really started to, I'm like, I miss that. I miss the craziness, and I miss the how ridiculous some of it is. That's what I like about it, and how cheesy some of it
I'm
is.
starting to pick it up.
Oh, but it's just, you
Yeah.
forget how freaking fun that was.
Yeah.
I got the opportunity to interview Bailey, NXT Women's Champion,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, and what I loved talking to Bailey was amazing because her character is her. I mean, she was the tomboy, and she really was hanging out with, she's hanging out with the boys all the time. But she loves to be that woman who is, I don't have to put a bunch of extensions in my hair and put on fake lashes. I have lashes, but anyway. She likes that, and then she does get compared to, well, why doesn't she, sex it up like the other women? And she's like, I don't have to, and that's what I don't want to do in my career. And she's fine being kooky, quirky, I'm a hugger Bailey, which is really awesome. It was really cool to talk to her and kind of get that from her. So I'm going to switch it over a little bit to talking a little bit about ethnicity and skin color a little bit. This is where I'm going to get you guys in on this, okay? You read a book, you read a comic, you look at what the writer has envisioned for their character, right? Like, you know what Captain America looks like. He's been in comics for years, for decades. You know what he looks like, right? You know what all these characters look like. Now, with movies and TV shows kind of taking over and being as big as they are now, you'll obviously notice skin colors get changed, ethnicities, gender gets changed of all these kind of well-known characters. I'm going to throw out a couple of examples, and then I'll throw out a question. So, Nick Fury doesn't look like Samuel L. Jackson, but I'll watch anything he's in, so I don't care what he is. Wasabi from Big Hero 6, they changed him. Electro, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, not Jamie Foxx. The most recent one that I noticed was J.K. Rowling's stage play in London. They cast Hermione as, she's a black actress. Oh gosh, you would have thought that,
People are
they're
freaking
freaking out about Hermione being played by a black actress, when in fact, in the books, Hermione's skin color was never discussed. People, if you're comparing it to the movie, well then, she clearly doesn't look like Emma Watson, but...
Well, the only thing that they talked about was Hermione's hair.
Right, and her hair could have been anything.
Yeah, her hair could have been anything, but if you really think about it, like when you think of naturally frizzy, natural hair, my thought goes to curly Mexican hair or natural black hair.
Yeah, like me when I wake up in the morning. So people, and in that situation, it was the best actress won the part, regardless of what her skin color was. So what I want to know from you guys is, and also from you too, is do those kind of things bother you, or does it depend on what the actor brings to the role? That's what I kind of want to know. Like for me, Nick Fury, it doesn't bother me because I love Samuel L. Jackson, and like I said, he can play anything. Or I think of Idris Elba and Thor. He can play whatever he wants. Because I will sit here.
Idris Elba as the Roland from the Dark Tower series.
Right, like he could just sit here and read the phone book, and I'm like,
if you've seen pictures of him already in that Dark Tower series, holy,
amazing.
Oh my god.
So, like I said, clearly we're fans. But I mean, I think it's more of what, for me personally, it's more of what they bring to the role. If you can make that character come off the page, I'm not looking at what your skin color is. If the costuming is right,
That's what I get hung up on.
Oh, the
costuming.
Disney fans, like Disney fans. Anyone? Am I the only obsessed Disney fan in here? It's not. So okay. So I go to Disneyland a lot, and California Adventures a lot. They just took out the Aladdin stage play at Disney California Adventure.
Makes me cry.
And put in Frozen, and I'm so over Frozen. You have kids, you're just over Frozen.
Yeah,
So-
that stage play was worth the price of admission alone.
Right?
Like, so you're over Frozen. If you're like me, I'm over it. A great movie, over it. Well, they cast, so I'm looking at the little preview they have of it, and Anna looks like Anna, and Elsa looks like Elsa. Then we get to Kristoff. Kristoff on the stage play is now being portrayed by a black actor. But the costume and the hair is so bad, you can't, I would have not have said a thing if they didn't have him looking absolutely horrible. Like, whose hair looks like that?
Yeah.
So that was more offensive to me, was that, not that they changed what he looks like in the movie, is that he looks awful now. Which, now of course, it's going to draw more attention, like, why does he look like that? So that's what makes me mad more, is at least bring the character,
Do the
do
character
it well.
justice.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? I'd love to hear what you guys think.
Well, there's an example I have of a pre-existing minority character who became back in prominence, was in the Justice League and Justice League Limited cartoon. They brought in John Stewart, put a pre-existing in the comics, made him the Green Lantern, supported by Hal Jordan. And they actually helped make him more of a fully developed character for a new generation. I thought that was a great example of someone who's really existed, has a history, and introducing now he's the one that a lot of people think of as Green Lantern, and should really have like more prominence because they need more inclusion of minorities in major motion pictures and television shows. And he actually has like very good history now in the cartoon where they give him like more freelance to develop the character.
See, it's a good
See, but
example.
we're starting to also go through the other side where it's becoming so inclusive that even an iconic character, I think it wasn't Captain America, besides the Hell Hydra, Superman has Hispanic parents. They rewrote his history, so he grew up with migrant workers' parents and redoing his story. At that point, I feel as such an iconic character, I'm now less inclined to like him. You're basically taking something that might have been, you want to say whitewashed to begin with? Leave it alone. It's taking more away for me now that you're taking away its story that's so the past.
But that was a completely different story, though.
But
Right? I mean, a different Superman.
It's a little different lines. There's so many different lines.
storyline. But I mean, you want to ask yourself too, why do you think it's something that's being taken away from you then?
Well,
Because
of course,
parents are Hispanic.
I'm Hispanic, and it just seems like they're pandering to an Hispanic demographic by doing that. In many ways, that I don't like. Like, I don't like being sold something because I'm Hispanic.
Right.
I'd rather a good story bring me in, and at which point I don't care about the genders of the people, I don't care about the ethnicity, it's the story, it's driven. If it affects the story, like it affects who they are, then yes, of course, we want to go to the backstory, go that. If it doesn't affect who he is, he's just now has Hispanic parents, it's like, no.
Yeah. I imagine the writers would have, I mean, it was, I don't think they do elsewhere in the world anymore, but it was like a different storyline, just exploring
Yeah.
what would it be like if Superman had been raised by migrant parents. Right now, Superman is Asian. He's Chinese American. With Jean Yang is writing it. So Superman, I think he's an iconic character. He's America, right? And exploring the different ways Superman would be Superman, I think, is a legitimate use of the character to kind of explore the idea of America.
Look at it when they did Red Sun,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they took him and put him into the Soviet
Union.
Union. And I mean, he still was Superman. He just was different because he came up, instead of the American way of life, came up with the Soviet way of life. And it affected his character. I mean, his attitudes towards things was different because he had different type, and it comes from his parents.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, same thing with the storyline where they're Hispanic. I liked it being Hispanic. I thought it was cool. Their Superman's actually got Hispanic parents, yeah. But it was a completely different storyline, and his attitudes were different. I don't think it connected to the Hispanic background very well,
But that also didn't actually change the hero. Like, writing the side notes or the one-shots didn't actually change or affect the central line of the hero. It's just something for some people to enjoy closer. And in that sense, to me, they could have written a new character, tried to build a fan base around something new instead of changing something that's already basically everyone knows.
I think it's a more general idea. There's also the idea of who tells the stories. I mean, right now Marvel doesn't have any black women writers who, they'll write about characters of color, but who is telling the stories, and is that important? Like, the
I
superhero.
really need to know what's
And that's
that.
100% valid, because I don't feel that some people have the same perspective.
Right, like Jin Yang writing a Chinese Superman, I get that. I know Jin. He, like, inside, he is Superman. He is like a wonderful dude. So, yeah, and he's going to bring something to that. But, you know, if you got somebody who doesn't have that background, they might not know the nuances of the culture. So they're just going to say, oh, look, Superman is Mexican now.
Ta-da, he's
Yeah.
brown.
Yeah.
Well, and that was like with Chunky Girl Comics was, you know, my thing was, I don't want to re-envision a character as being curvy or chunky or whatever. I'm just going to create new.
Yeah.
And then that was for me personally. Like, and I cosplay as different characters. I'm like, guess what? I'll be the chunky version. But what I write is something new because I know what it's like to be a kid growing up being called fat. I know what it's like to be an adult with boobs trying to find a shirt that will button right without gapping right here. And when you're a chunky girl reading that or seeing that drawing, you're like, yes! Like, I understand exactly what you're talking about. Thank you for, you know, like in the first book, my character works in the financial district in San Francisco, and she's got to hoof it up a hill. Well, you know, when you're hoofing up a hill and you've got some extra rain on you and you're rushing to get to work, guess what? You're going to get to work sweaty.
Yeah.
And in the book, she gets to work sweaty. You know, and it's just, those are things, and so the same thing with, you know, writing from the perspective of having a black writer write black characters, have an Asian writer write Asian characters. It does, and it's little details that I notice when I read a book, like, that's not how it is.
Yeah,
You can tell. You can honestly tell if the person writing actually has experience. Even it's the little things of interactions.
Yeah. Yeah, I just had a roundtable that I interviewed that was published on Comics Alliance with some Asian creators, just talking about those little details that kind of clue you into, like, the author knows this culture. Like one writer had their characters eating spam wasabi or musubi, which, you know, if you're Asian, you know that's a thing, but other people might not.
Yeah.
You know? So those little details.
Little things,
Yeah.
you know. And there was a question in the back or comment. Do you want
I was actually going to agree with him about if it's a retelling of a story and you have a character is it plausible for them to be in that arena? And actually, when you mentioned the ethnicity of the character, I'm going a little bit way back, and I'm thinking about when Phantom of the Opera was here in San Francisco and Robert Guillaume was the Phantom.
Oh.
And I'm like, is it possible to have Benson or a black guy being the Phantom? And I didn't go, but my sister went, and she said that his voice basically transcended the fact that he was black. But I was thinking about the retelling of the story, and kind of where you get around that is kind of having those parallel universes. And there was a recent series of the Spectacular Spider-Man, the one that's showing on Disney XD right now, where Spider-Man was traveling through different universes, and one place where all the villains and heroes were all women. So there was a female Spider-Man, and then there was like a Harriet Osborn, you know, for instance. And then he traveled to another universe where it was like a film noir, and Spider-Man wore like a dark coat, and everything was really dark. So in that sense, it's really interesting to say like have a Hispanic version, and you know, I was thinking like Star Wars.
That is amazing, but I mean, like, if you're gonna go there, like, extremes are really great. Like, you look at, like you mentioned, Red Sun. Red Sun is it sits by itself because it's such an interesting, taking one character from one end and going in a different spectrum. Just changing a little bit of their race sometimes just seems like you're...
Oh, no, that's where I'm agreeing with you on the sense that, like, again, is it plausible? You know, if...
Well, it is possible that a black person would be in France at that time, actually. Not to actually anybody. I was just thinking of, like, recently there's the Three Musketeers series from England, and one of the Musketeers is played by a black guy, and people went, oh my gosh, a black Musketeer, PC culture gone amok. But the author of the Three Musketeers, Alexander Dumas, his father was black. He was a general from from Haiti. So there were black people in Europe, surprise. So that's, you know, that's another thing. It's like we have this vision of what the world looked like. And it's all these white, good-looking, muscular, thin, full-figured, you know, busty women and, you know, like this idealized past. But no, people in the past or people now, or just like people now, some of them were fat, some of them were thin. There were black people in Europe. You know, there were brown people.
But to your point though, even having that thing, like going back to Black Phantom of the opera, that does make me question, were there black people in Europe? So I would go back and look.
Right.
I'm like, wow, I just learned something.
Yeah, so it's like the question of erasure. Like, it's, the media acts like, you know, fat people don't exist. They act like brown people don't exist. We get Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell with the black wig.
Right. She's in everything.
Yeah, and, you know, we get, you know, that's a really big problem right now with white actors replacing Asian characters. They just think, well, you know, like Tilda Swinton can be a Tibetan, you know,
Yeah,
martial arts expert. And so, you know, that's, you know, just in everything. If it's not a certain ideal, it's considered replaceable. Like, you know,
nobody will know.
yeah, nobody else. Like, and sometimes, like, there was a biopic of Bessie Smith, and they got Queen Latifah there. But then they have Nina Simone,
Right.
and they have what's her name?
Zoe
Saldana.
Playing her basically, you know, in blackface. You know, they widened her nose, they darkened her skin instead of actually finding an actor who looked like her. So it goes both ways. There's this idea that, you know, there's these characters who are white and let's explore what they might be like if they weren't. But then there's characters who aren't white and it's not really exploring anything. You're not getting at anything by making them white. You're just deciding that white is.
That's a perfect take on it. It goes both ways, and a lot of people forget that. You need to look at on both sides. It's not just one race or one you're erasing. You have to realize that sometimes it might be part of the story, might not be the story, but you have to explore the fact that removing someone's race does affect who they are, and I mean, there's actors for everything. There really is actors for everything. They might not have the star power, which is the real reason. I don't feel it's race. I feel a lot of times it's all money.
They don't have the star
It's not
power
fair
because of
they're not
their race.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you know, Idris Elba. I hate to bring it back up. Let's come back to Idris Elba. Well, he's been criticized a lot, and you know, he's British. He's not, you know, he's not an American actor. He was criticized by a lot of the media outlets in England for why does he keep going and doing all these American films and not spending more time here in his homeland and all this stuff. And he spoke in front of the Prime Minister. I mean, he said, "I'm tired of being the drug dealer. You know, I'm tired of being the big angry black guy," because that's all the roles he was getting in England. So he had to step out and come to, you know, America and do more films here. Now he's doing better. He still got cast as a lot of those very stereotypical.
He took a bunch of garbage because somebody suggested that they make him James Bond.
Yeah. Oh, and see, and
He would've been a great James
I
Bond.
swear to I sign. I think he'd be amazing as James Bond.
There was an outcry with Donald Glover. His fans wanted him to be
Yes.
Spider-Man.
Be Spider-Man, yes.
And there was a rage about it. It's like, now there is an actual black Spider-Man in the comics.
Right. So it's really crazy, and it's always crazy to me that, you know, and I hate that my daughter, she'll be 12 next month, and she's starting to get more, you know, on the internet and looking at stuff, and as she's kind of growing into this young woman, she is trying to come into her own and see the role models that she has, and you know, the main shows and things that she watches. I'm looking, I'm like, what are you watching? You know, because and she loves like everything on Disney, right? All those Disney, all the, you know, the cute little boys that are on there. I was just like, you know, but you realize as an adult watching it now, you're like, while they try to give a good variety of skin color, you still don't see body type. You still don't see different, you know, socioeconomic backgrounds. Like everyone's the same, and it's like, no, it's okay to give these kids shows and things that that represent different parts of, they show these movies set in San Francisco, and where everyone's got a lot of money, well, I mean.
Like Fuller House.
Like,
The Full House reboot, Fuller House, it's the exact same house, the exact same white people, the exact same socio-economic background.
Just like Division.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
The only thing different I noticed was that they spoke about divorce. Like, that was it. And I watched each episode with my daughter, and I was like, this is BS. Hey, I don't want to watch this anymore because this is not real life. She goes, yeah, it's actually really stupid. I was like, I'm glad you see that. Like, I'm glad you see these things, this different, that not everybody is like this, that not everybody is this certain way. She goes, yeah, these people are not like us, Mom. I was like, yeah, I know.
Right.
What content do you guys like? Like, do you think promotes a positive audience or positive message? Like, in comics or cartoons you guys really enjoy?
I think a lot of the older cartoons from the 90s really promoted more socioeconomic diversity, color diversity, and ability diversity as well. I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the cartoon, but it was about an African American family, and the older daughter, they just posted something from that cartoon. It was like, she graduated this year or something like that, and they did like a mock graduation photo of her and her family, and one of the children is disabled. They also have Asian people in their family. I feel like some of the cartoons that are older actually portray that better than cartoons now.
Right now, I really love Steven Universe.
What's really funny is I was just going to say that.
My kids love Steven Universe. We got a whole bunch on our DVR recently, and we're like, okay, it's Steven Universe time. And I think I forget what my daughter calls it. She calls it like a gem show or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and speaking of gem, the new gem comic is awesome with Sophie Campbell drawing it. Lots of body diversity and racial diversity.
Yeah.
And the trans story, Sophie being a trans woman herself.
I think the
They've
Flash.
got a vampire.
The Flash does a good job too. I mean, the TV show Flash. I mean, they've changed characters from Iris West, who's supposed to be white in the comic books, is African American. Her dad.
Yeah.
I mean, Vibe is a Hispanic character in the comic books and in that show.
I guess a couple of mine. Steven Universe was one because you've got colors: green, blue, purple, pink. Different body types. I do a cosplay as Jasper from Steven Universe. Jasper is big and mean and just in your face. I love it. But I also love Amethyst because she's kind of short and chunky, and it's like, okay, there's some diversity there. I guess X-Men in general is a great example of different abilities and diversity and learning to accept that, you know what, I'm a weirdo and I'm a mutant, but I'm going to love being a weirdo, and why would you make fun of a mutant when I can blow your face off, that kind of thing.
Comic side, of course, there's Saga, which Image publishes and started when I was there. And what's interesting about Saga, it's an interracial couple in more than one sense. They're like from different planets. Well, one's from a moon and one's from a planet. But one has kind of African American features and one has Asian features. They're aliens, so they're not. And that came from, and this is an interesting thing that has to do with erasure and who is telling the story, is Fiona Staples, the artist. She is Hapa. She's half Chinese, I believe. And when she was working with Brian K. Vaughan, he just kind of gave her an idea of the characters, saying, no, they're this good-looking young couple. Just don't give the woman red hair because I'm tired of science fiction heroines with red hair. And she said, well, they don't have to be white. And it was something, he's like, he looks like cookie cutter comic book writer. He's a white bald guy. And so it kind of didn't occur to him. And so that was something that she, as a woman of color, brought to that book. And now it's so extraordinarily diverse. And there's many, people full of different sexualities and different body types, and they're all getting naked, and it's a beautiful book. And then just the little girl, she's the central character, Hazel. She's an interracial child, and that's something, you know. But for me, I was mixed race. You're mixed race. That's something you never see ever. And you know, my children are. So that's important.
Well, we are almost at our time, which, you know, I always say, what are we going to talk about for 45 minutes or an hour? And then all of a sudden we get to the end and we're like, oh my gosh. So I want to thank you guys, you know, for really, you know, kind of participating and listening and all that stuff. Like I said, I always take away a lot of really good information from, you know, from the crowd, which is really cool. I wanted to just spotlight a couple of other things that we didn't touch on because, you know, we were talking. I am working on a couple other storylines. I'm going to have an openly gay superhero coming up, which is kind of cool. Inspired by one of my drag queen friends, which is good. He's just going to die because he's going to be so late. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I really wanted to touch on cosplay a little bit, but we kind of are running out of time. But I want to say to everybody out there, if you have thought about cosplay and you haven't done it because you don't feel comfortable or whatever it is, kind of like how Tina decided, just do it. We had a guy come to one of our conventions one of our panels last year, and him and his wife came, and he was in his car. I can't remember what he was trying to ask. I can't think of it now. But he came in and he says, at Stockton Con 6 months ago or whatever it was, I had told you I wanted to, but he had said,
Yeah, it was.
so we had the quiver, and so he had said, I had talked to you about wanting to cosplay, but he was a chunky guy, an older guy. He was like, he didn't want to, he was nervous about it. He's like, I don't look like a superhero, you know, and so this also goes to show you it's men, not just women, that have body image issues. So he was like, no, I didn't want to, and I had told him, just do it. You just do it. Like, you don't worry about how expensive clothes are. You don't have to go buy something fancy. Make it. Look in your closet, find something to do. And then 6 months later, he comes and it made me cry. I'm a crybaby anyway. But he goes, it's because of what you said, just to go and do it, that I'm here in his first ever cosplay. And he's talking about all the stuff he's working on to make it better. And so, if you take anything away from this, it's just, you know, you've got to love you. And you're going to hear negativity. We hear it all the time. All the time. And you just realize you got to love who you are, and whether it's in cosplay, as yourself, at school, work, wherever it is, even in your own home, because we've had a lot of kids who have said that, you know, they kind of have parents that don't understand them and whatever. And I said, you've got to find you and be comfortable with you.
Find your community and go to that community. Let your nerd out there. If you can't let your nerd out at home, if you can't let your fandom out at home or wherever in your circle of friends, come to one of these things. Go to a card night at a game shop or something like that. Do your nerd. You do you. That is the antithesis of all of this. You do you. But also, I'm pretty famous for saying, show me your nerd. I want to see it. I don't care if you think it's bad or awesome or amazing or the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life. I want to see it. I want to fawn over you. Show me your nerd. That's what I want to see.
All right. Well, that's our time. We'll be hanging around. More while we're out there, whatever. I do have. Check us out. Facebook, Instagram. It's Chunky Girl Comics. I got a couple pictures from our comic. If you want one, you're welcome to grab one. We'd love to say hello on, like I said, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. But, all right, thank you guys so much. Enjoy today. This is an awesome show. You're jingling and bangling over there. I'm like, You know what, somebody else, so honey, you look amazing. Thanks for coming. You know what, somebody had told me about that other
Cunky
convention.
Girl Comics. And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram under the same name.
I will let you in another call. That's great. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thanks for doing this.
Oh.
You can step out there.
Because somebody else had brought that to my attention at another convention. And I'm like, I never really heard. Yeah, and then I had,